Oh shit, here we go again.
Low, low, man. Low, low,
man. You like contracts, right? You're a contract guy.
I read contracts instead of conventional pornography, yes.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
What's up, everybody? Scuffing the... Oh, wait, I'm small. No, I scuffed it. Oh, what's going on, everybody? Of course, Andrew Esquire, Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I am very happy to be here today at a very early time for you guys, but for me, it's the time I need to stream tonight because I have some evening engagements. So I am very, very busy tonight. I've got only an hour and 5 minutes to do this stream. So we're going to see if we can do it. We've got a fast facts. It'll follow up afterwards. In case there's any minor points I missed, that Fast Facts got it. Although the PowerPoint in the Fast Facts is scuffed, the live version is improved. I fixed the scuff. So my little fun task for you when you watch the Fast Facts is to find the scuff. Find the scuff. There's a missing slide, and there's a certain element on one of the slides that should not be there. But of course, it would not be a Legal Mindset PowerPoint unless it's scuffed. But good morning, good evening, good night to wherever you guys are. It's 5:55 p.m. here in the lovely Kingdom of Thailand. Crucible for one Legal Mindset membership. Welcome. Oh my God, it's Sean as a new member. Welcome. Fallen Hero for one. Welcome. And Knuckles Master says, didn't expect anything about Thor, but let's fucking go. Neither did I. So let me give you guys a little bit of background here. And of course, I do have a PP for you today. We're also going to be heavily relying on the Quinn Theo video. Now, we're not going to watch the whole thing because you guys need to go over and subscribe and like his channel and watch that video. But we are going to watch his part regarding legal analysis. So it's kind of like the last 10 or so minutes ish of his analysis when he gets to the legal part. I'm going to give you guys a more quick version of the background, and then we're just going to get into it. But he does an excellent job of vetting everything. I wouldn't do this story if it wasn't for his presentation and the way he cleanly lined everything up. He also talked to a lawyer that was very based, extremely based, giga-based, and I really enjoyed that lawyer's commentary. I truly did, and I agree with almost everything he said, with only a little asterisk of there's more that we need to explain and we need to talk about because there's other considerations, but he's not wrong about anything he said. Nothing he said is wrong. So big shout out to Quinn Theo's channel for this topic on pirate software. Now, we had previously talked about pirate software related to stop killing games. However, that was more related to the analysis of the regulation, how that plays out, what would happen, etc. And that episode you guys can check out in the past. But today, just to be very, very clear with this live, we are not going to be talking about the fact that he did 100% get his teammates in the hardcore OnlyFans server. He did get them absolutely killed, and he did not take responsibility for that in the proper way. Instead of saying, well, everybody's a little bit at fault, saying, no, I screwed up. I made a mistake. I'm sorry, guys. I apologize. Like I like a normal human being, right? We all screw up. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time. Hell, if I don't make a mistake on a stream, it's surprising, right? We all make mistakes, and it's normal. It's human, right? Everybody makes mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And it is only when you reach kind of lol cow status, which I believe pirate software is getting there, where you cannot accept the fact that you sometimes will make a mistake. And so, yeah, we're not going to talk about that. That's not legal, right? We're also not going to talk about whatever he did with a ferret. Whatever Maldavius Fig Tree did with a ferret is between him and the ferret, and I respect the privacy of what happens with ferrets in private furry role play. And we're also not going to talk about stop killing games, although we've talked about that before. But what we will talk about, and this is relevant, is this drop in followers. So this is extremely, extremely relevant. because and this is updated. I took this as of today. Pirate Software is down 104K subscribers in 1 month. That is impressive. That is truly impressive. I have never in my history of streaming seen somebody so quickly shed followers. I've seen people lose followers, and there's people that have lost, 10, 20, 30, 40K over the course of a month, but 100, that is insane. Now, that also can have to do with the fact that when you rise quickly, you fall quickly. He was one of the quickest people to come up. He went from a nobody nothing channel with, I think, 10 or 20,000 subscribers to all of a sudden 2 million within the course of, I believe, a couple months. It might even have been 2 months or something like that. He just shot up because he took over the shorts algorithm, and everyone was seeing his shorts everywhere because he was dominating the shorts algorithm. And he kind of cracked that code, which good on him for that. That's something that, once again, you can say whatever you want to say about him, but obviously he and his team, his editors, whatever else, they figured out the shorts algorithm and they absolutely manipulated that. But as somebody in the chat says, was it Honky here says, easy come, easy go. Oftentimes when you learn, when you gain quickly, you lose quickly. When you are somebody who builds up an audience over time that knows your character, that knows who you are, right? They're more resilient. They're less likely to leave because they know you and they've been slowly accumulated over time. Whereas if you have a large jump in new subs, they can be easily lost if they lose track of their perceived image that you've been portraying recently, right? So let me get some of these chats here, but this is very relevant because in terms of liability, these are all liabilities, because how many of these viewers and followers were whales? How many of these people here were spending massive amounts of money on his stream? We're sending bits, we're giving subs, etc., donating, right? How many of these people might have spent a lot of money on Pirate Software because they thought he was something, and as we're going to see today, they might feel defrauded by the actions that were exposed today. So we're going to talk about that. Patrick gave 10 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you for the donation.
Yes.
Thank you for the 10 pounds saying 2K viewers, a little lawyers growing up. Excuse me, it's 3.6K. Most of my streams, if I'm covering a really popular topic, whether it's Somali or something else, we will do 5, 6, 7, I've had one of my Somali trial streams was in like the 20s. I was like 27K, 28K at one point, so, we're getting bigger, we're growing here. And I do appreciate all the other channels that have been covering me, Tectone, Asmongold, etc., that have been reviewing my channels, reviewing my streams and my fast facts and my lives. That's really helped out. And you guys are all welcome here. No matter where you're from, no matter what channel you're coming from, you are welcome here as part of this community. We try to keep things educational and entertaining, but we still have a little bit of fun. We still have fun. We still enjoy the memes. I'm still a man of the chat. James Bellamy 7 says, "Hey Andrew, Sleepless, 3:53 a.m. here in Seattle." That's a good movie, Sleepless in Seattle. Thanks for you. Thank you for you. Please react to Novelle's salty attack on your character. No, I will not. I don't react anymore to people defaming me. There's a million people defaming me in the Hassan orbiters, whatever else. That's not really something I'm going to do. I've already reacted as much as I need to any of that. Matt Larson doesn't remember. Welcome. Digital Lisa, for this stream, we can not have any PP. Everything must be explained by MS Paint. Oh, that's funny. Matt Larson for one. Thank you. Good morning. I see Thor is on the radar. Yes, he is indeed on the radar. Dr. Love says, "What am I supposed to do for you?" Well, I don't know, doctor. I'm not feeling sick. Stephanie with a $4.99 super sticker. Thank you. Workerman 4299 says, "Good morning. Always excited to get notifications you're alive. Keep on being amazing." Thank you so much. And welcome everybody who is here. And also thank you for the $10 donation that goes to the goal. And the goal today is our ferret protection fund, because yes, what he does with ferrets in private role play is his business, but hopefully real life ferrets are being protected and none are harmed here. No ferrets were harmed in the filming of my Fast Facts or this live. Stoner Moo says, "The delivery service broke your 300K whiskey bottle. I'll send you another." No, I'm sorry. 300K. Oh no, for my celebration. I cannot believe they broke the whiskey bottle. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Pirate Software, more locale or Barbara Streisand? A little bit of both. I think the lady doth protest too much. And when you try to cover up and hide stuff like DMCA stuff, or you try to play it down, it just makes it worse, right? You either have to fully ignore it or you have to address it directly and just move on, right? Those are really your two options. Ajax969 for 2. Thank you. Torkill, Dramzow, 905171 gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. And Stoner Mumu gifted 10. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate your donuts.
Yes.
Doug Diaz also gifted 5. Once again, thank you, Doug. Long-time gifter here. Gaxian gifted another 5. And then we've got Warranty Void coming up with 20. A big 20. Giving all my haters
Emotional damage.
and also Crucible following up with 1. So thank you guys, Warranty Void, Doug Diaz, everybody else who give their Crucible. Thank you guys, appreciate that. Magza Poppin says goal and swear keg donation for you. Why is it a keg now? Why does it move from a jar to a keg? Thank you. That is hecka awesome. The 7th Thilo Sin says stream topic idea, answering questions about law. Yeah, I do that. I can just have an AMA, anything in the law. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that on a stream. Maybe a member stream. Maybe I'll just do an AMA like for all members. That sounds fun. Ogre Prime says can't sleep 4 a.m. Well, I'm going to keep you up 1 hour here at least. Patrick said, didn't one of his mods come out and admit he was paying an alt account during the stream? Shh, that's what we're going to get to right now. Literally, it's the next page. It's the next page. Don't spoil it. Dr. Love, thanks for another 5. Stoner Moomba says, it's me, Sitsitar. Why is my name show? You got to reset it. I don't know. It's the software. I think the software I'm using is not converting it correctly. So thank you guys for that. And also YouTube had changed their format and their weirdness. So yeah, thank you guys for that. For 10, Senior Muffin Top says, here's a yellow super chat for the goal. I'm hoping to make the move to Thailand within 2 years. Well, cool. Hit me up. I'm going to kind of revamp a lot of the stuff I'm offering out here and help out a lot more with real estate and help out a lot more with relocation and apartments, etc., and experiences. So yeah, definitely hit me up if you're thinking of moving to Asia. DY169 says, scuffed Andrew. Can you make an insanity plea? No, he cannot. Also, what headphones is Audio Technica? I technically don't need them right now, but I'm using them as like a comfort blanket. They make me feel comfortable. Joshua says, thanks for coming, Pirate Software. My pleasure. It was highly requested. How does it feel to be the biggest weeb lawyer? Very good. Very good. What was I watching last night? I was watching, The Great Pretender. I actually really like The Great Pretender. It is an amazing anime. So far, I really like the story about like confidence men, and they switched. Even the dubs aren't horrible. I know some people don't like dubs. They're going to flame me in the chat. The dubs aren't horrible. Good anime. Not done with it yet, but I was watching that last night. It's good. Robert Von Beeks for 5. Thank you, Robert. Great gifter. And I like the Spike Man. Says, been a while, Mr. Esquire. Please protect the ferrets. We are always protecting the ferrets. T-Cell says, well, any chance you're going to talk about the Visa MasterCard censorship? I think that would have to be a members chat because it gets into spicier topics. And I want to be really, really careful with that because it's pretty spicy. But I will talk about it because a lot of people have suggested maybe on a members chat. Dirty Gold YT says, my favorite law tuber on the net. When's the VTuber model coming? It is coming. No date, but it will come. And BobTube says, when Pirate Software said he was paying for a ferret protection, I didn't realize you meant condoms.
No. Wait.
Oh, that's funny. Infamous says new headphones. No, I've had these for a while. I just don't always wear them. Dr. Love says, do you get a good split off the gifted subs on YouTube? Good to see you getting all the attention. You're putting up work, my guy. Yeah, the memberships do well. Also, you can go over to Ko-Fi/Andrew Esquire. That goes more direct. It's like more like 90% instead of 60, but it's still a decent split on YouTube. And once again, I'm very happy to be streaming. And to be honest, if you guys like the video, comment. That helps out a lot, especially with the new algorithm. With 4,600 of you there, we'll hit 5,000, 6,000 if you guys just like that video. Also, Louis Callie says, was watching Dr. Stone last night with the wife. Still waiting on the next season of Konosuba. Also, 7-month membership. Let's go. I finished Dr. Stone. I actually do like Dr. Stone. Dr. Zeno has grown on me. All right, let's stop weaving out. Okay, what happened? While live, Pirate Software accidentally showed a DM with his moderator. The DM showed that his mod was purchasing bits to extend Pirate's hype train. Now, to be very clear, for those that don't know, Pirate Software was very, very proud that he was like the hype train king, that he was like the reigning king of hype trains, who's setting the records, etc. This was something he took a lot of pride in. And because of this reason, oftentimes when you are like the king of something, you don't want to lose your crown, right? So what happens is you often end up doing things that are questionable to try to keep that crown, to try to keep that thing, because your ego gets invested in that. And that's a lot of times where instances where deception happens, perhaps even fraud, because you're so invested in being number one that you're going to do whatever it takes to be number one. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. By the way, then Neurosama, Vidal beat it, which, by the way, shout out to Vidal, shout out to Neurosama. They are absolutely fantastic. People already know I'm the VTuber lawyer. I cover the VTuber issues on the internet, but very great creator out there. And they trounced Pirate Software. Ohana HX for 20 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you for that. Let's do this one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Let's see here. Dr. Love says, funny, his name is Thor. His name should be Icarus. That would be so much more appropriate. Dark Torlin said, Pirate dropped DMs thinking they're slick, but fake strikes backfire quick. Dark Torlin tuned into the stream. Legal Mindset crushing the seam. Oh, man, my rap bars are not coming over good, but check out Dark Torlin. He's got good comment, good content, good channel. GLP 1989 says, copyright litigator again. Give me a good email for you. My email is Andrew, ANDREW, Esquire, ESQUIRE, live@gmail.com. Email me. And I do sometimes take a long time to get back because I have a lot of emails. So if I take like 3 or 4 days, I'm sorry, I'm super busy. I will get back to you. Bart Von Beek, thanks for the membership. Appreciate you. All right, let's keep going here. Let's show you guys the Carfax because you need to see the proof. Now, this is from Quinn Theo's video. So once again, please go over to his channel. In fact, I'll show the channel right here, right? So this is the video. I want you all to go over here and like and subscribe to his channel because we're not pulling addendums here, ladies and gentlemen. We are not doing a Frogan. We are not doing a Caseytron. We are giving ample commentary on only part of his video. Please go over here, though, and like and subscribe, right? Because when people have good content, they deserve it. And this guy, I want to say something really nice about this guy. He is a very, very good presenter for these issues. And the way he articulated legal issues is extremely impressive for a non-lawyer. I actually thought he might be a lawyer for a second, just based on how clearly he articulated it. So he did a fantastic job. His video has 680K views, which are 100% deserved. So if anybody hasn't checked that out, should check that out. He did an excellent job on this, and I wouldn't be covering this unless it was for him. So big thank you to his channel over there. Okay, now that I've given the mandatory fluffing, let's see him caught in a literal banana suit slipping up. How ironic is it that he slipped up in a banana suit? But let's continue.
I could place my head between them and go full burr mode and make
what?
So this is him pulling it up on stream here, and I'll just go ahead and let the rest of it play, as you guys will see that this is indeed Pirate Software. You can see his messages between Kronos, the ones that we were just showing you, and then you're going to watch him go ahead and delete the text-to-speech that he just heard.
What? What is this? Where is it? I'm going to find this. I need to find your message. God damn it. Click. Click, you garbage machine. What? Who are you? Why are you like this? Number 420. Deleted. Jesus Christ.
Now, number one, as far as I'm concerned, I think that's aptly proving that, yes, this is indeed Pirate Software. He's going through, he deleted the text-to-speech. You heard him talking about it, and he had the authority to delete that message. Now, the other thing I found interesting about this little chain of events here is that he quickly switches to a different DM after he realizes that this is on screen. And that happens before he goes to his Discord. And he looks a bit panicked, but that, again, I'm speculating here, right?
That's not okay. So he says he's speculating there, but that is very much him caught with his pants down. That's what you do when you're caught with your pants down. Look, we've all misclicked at a certain point. We've all done that. Streamers have all done that. I've done that, right? Where I've clicked the wrong thing and then gone back and clicked over and clicked something else. Right? It happens, right? But usually when you misclick, you're not clicking over to something that's completely exposing you. Right. For example, usually it's me clicking on the wrong PowerPoint or the wrong Canva tab or whatever else. right? It's not, oh, here's a DM that maybe exposes you to fraud charges, right? Maybe it exposes you to deceptive and, deceptive trade practices. Usually it's not that. And that's where he got in some trouble. So the issue, once again, to reiterate this, the issue is that his mod was purchasing the bits to extend the hype train, but the bits were not donated via the main mod account. So it wasn't via Kronos's account. It was by an alt account, which Pirate was aware of. So this is very important because Pirate having knowledge is super important to the analysis. It's incredibly important to the analysis. So here's the DM. So I'm going to read this for you because I know it's very small. So it says, this is Pirate Software talking to Kronos' mod. Let me know if you do. Bits is going to be the best way to do it due to the return if you need to save it. Now, the language return is very damning because a return implies return on investment, ROI, return. So what that means is the money is going to come back to him. How would that happen? If he's a mod, an individual donating to another person, you usually don't get your money back. However, if you are a employee, which this mod once again could be considered employee or considered an agent, we have principal agent theory, which is you are the principal and your people you tell to do stuff are your agents, right? So I've got my agents, Danielle and JP Raven, for my mods out there. And if they went out and did something on my instruction because I told them to, they would be my agent. So you could be liable for that. That's why it's important to choose your mods wisely and not choose mods that are going to go run out and do crazy stuff, right? So when he did this, not only did his mod do it, but his mod did it knowingly, and his mod did it under his instruction, saying, hey, this is how to do it. And in fact, he told them how to game it the best way. He said, hey, T3s might be better. Bits is 82% return when you buy them in bulk. Have you bought any yet? So he's implying, hey, I'm going to pay you back for that. So you're going to give me the bits and I'm going to pay you back because we're just going to keep the hype train going. It's how we're going to keep the hype train going. Right. And we're going to talk about the legality of that or whether it breaches TOS in a second. So Kronos says, I have 100. He's already done 100 T1s on my personal. Now that's fine. He did it on his personal account. There's no hiding it there. But here we go. I'm ready to do 40 T3s on an alt. Can do bits instead or both. Did 50K bits at 20 seconds left. So saying he already extended it using those bits. And then Pirate Software says, okay, what's the alt account? And Chrono says, serendipitous bean. Where's the beef? And then he says, didn't mention this to the mods either. So he's hiding it from everybody else. Now the challenge is to clear the queue, meaning the TTS queue. But we're not going to talk too much about the TTS queue. I know Quinn Theo talks about that, but it's not as relevant for the deception. So, while some people might say, well, regarding his TTS queue, Pirate Software has something going on where, he reads off this TTS, and if he doesn't finish them, I believe he donates to charity. Once again, donating to charity is very risky because it can be considered charity fraud if you don't actually donate and you say you're going to donate. For sure, you're going to donate. That's a problem. That's a big problem. So you should be very careful when you throw out charity. That's why YouTube, for example, has the approved charities. And when you do a charity stream, you just kind of link the charity and the money automatically goes to them because there's huge risk for charity fraud. And that deals with a lot of wire fraud, et cetera, international regulations. So there's a lot of problems with that potentially, but we're not going to get into that. I'm not going to go down that route. I'm assuming that everything he does for charity is legit. That's not what we're concerned about here. What we're concerned about is serendipitous being. And serendipitous being here, who is the confirmed alt, is not painted as alt of Kronos. He's painted as IRL friend of Kronos. This is deceptive. This is very deceptive. And it's misleading because he is not an IRL friend. He is Kronos. And excited that they are now free from corporate. Love your stream and what you do for people here. There aren't many cool or supportive streamers left once they get big like this. Stay cool, bud, and tell Kronos that Ben sends his regards. So there you go. This is this serendipitous being, right, who is just the sock puppet but pretending to be the friend. And I like this. Now they're free of corporate. What does this imply? This implies that they're free from corporate, working for pirate, right? Working for pirate. So there's 3 legal issues: the Twitch terms of service, the federal law violations, and the state law violations. Now, Quinn Theo talks about 2 of these. He talks about the TOS and he talks about the federal law. So I'm going to let him talk about that and comment on his video. And then we're going to get into the state stuff, which is stuff that I'm bringing up separate to that. So let me pull up Quinn's video again, and we're going to try to watch this as much as we can. I may be doing a little bit of skipping here, but he does do an excellent job here. So I'm going to be kind of reviewing his analysis here. So let's skip into the Twitch TOS violation. Let's skip into that. Okay, so here we go. By the way, once again, go like and subscribe. Go watch his video. Pirate Software just caught. You know, I'm not going to watch the first 17 minutes other than that clip I played.
12% discount, but that's the ballpark here. And again, reached out to see if someone from Twitch can actually better clarify if any terms of service were broken. So at this moment, this is all just speculation.
By the way, Twitch is not going to clarify for him. Twitch is not going to clarify whether a term was broken. Their lawyers would never do that. That is stupid. That is absolutely stupid. Twitch is either going to do one of 2 things. They're going to shut up about it and do nothing, or they're going to punish pirate software. Those are the 2 options. They're not going to make a comment about whether some individual broke their TOS without taking an action. If they're going to comment on it, it'll be after they punish pirate software, but not before. So if he's punished, then they'll comment, but they're not going to comment otherwise. That's dumb. That's very dumb, right? They're probably going to do nothing. Most likely they're going to do nothing. Although I'll put a poll in the chat. Like what will Twitch do? And I'm just going to give 2 options: nothing or punish pirate. That's the only really 2 options here, because they either do one or the other, right? So I'll let the chat decide. Chat, I'm a man of the chat. Also, DTZ says Vidal is the king of female streamers. Also, much love from Romania. Awesome. Bob says it's no time to ferret out pirates' furry lore. Not today. Not today, kids. You ever see Grandma's Boy? Pirate is JP. No. Oh, no. That's a great movie. But Grandma's Boy is such a great movie. Oh, God. Oh, God. Thurbo Content says, hi, Andrew. You going to do a GW video on their fear tactics? Maybe. Games Workshop? Send me what you think about that. So maybe. I like Games Workshop. I mean, I like doing videos on those topics. I watched the original video. I'm so happy you're covering this. My pleasure. You asked me to email you. I've litigated multiple cases in Central District, California. You don't know Niemer and Pantry are the authors of the 2 most cited copyright treatises. Yes, I remember that. You called that out. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. And that's awesome that you're a copyright litigator. So yeah, hit me up and let's talk, and just put in the subject line like copyright litigator, right? And I will hit you up. J6 says, is PS channel really that impressive if he lies about his background to get in the algo? Also considering things he did like Dead Internet Theory. I don't look. I'm not here to trash on pirate software. I'm here to talk about its liability. If you want to like pirate software, that's fine. If you want to keep following him, that's fine. And I think that a lot of people that are still with his channel are going to keep watching him, and that's fine for them. All I'm here to talk about is opening up risks and liabilities. And mind you, even with my analysis today, this is all just allegations or really speculation on what could happen. Very well, nothing might happen. That's possible, right? The nothing ever happens meme. But it definitely opens the door to something that could happen. Absolutely, the door is open after this, 100%. King's Retirement, Chop Chop, Nordic Ways. So watched it yesterday, knew you would cover it. Thank you. And realized that Jason Hall lies about his status as a Twitch dev guy. It's like a daily quest in a mobile game. Then his bit makes sense. Nepo baby. There we go. Also, Ouch says, did you know Monday subs are free? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's continue.
And I don't have any other confirmation. Now, what I'm showing you guys here is from Twitch's legal bits acceptable use policy.
I have read all of this, and I do have a PowerPoint slide on this.
Now, I'm just going to read the title of this area that I'm going to be reading from. Bits cannot be directly exchanged for items or services of value. Now, that specifically directly exchanged is a bit, convoluted here, since it's going directly to the stream, but then supposedly, potentially, Kronos will be getting paid back. The front line reads, don't engage in an exchange of bits for items or services that typically are associated with a cost or value. Communities can gather to achieve a goal that unlocks a benefit or experience for the community, explained further below. Creators can announce benefits in response to individual cheers. However, in each of those scenarios, the activity does not provide a return of anything of value.
So one of the overall things that they're concerned about here, just understand, is that bits are not money. And they're not ersatz currency. They're not some sort of substitute currency or whatever else. They're their own little thing within the Twitch ecosystem, right? But it has to be very clear that they're not using bits in a way that is a replacement for currency or as a form of currency, et cetera, because there's issues there with that, right? And there's regulatory issues with that, right? So that's what a lot of this is really geared towards. Now let me skip forward to the area that is more problematic right here. Okay, there we go.
On here, we can see this specific point here: selling, offering to sell, trading, bartering, or transferring bits to other users of Twitch in exchange for real or virtual currencies. Now, this, we could make the argument that the selling, or I should say offering to sell or transferring bits to other users of Twitch in exchange for real currency would be the equivalent of Kronos donating those bits to Pirate's stream, knowing that he's getting this, as we talked about, that 82% return. Or I should say that
I would agree with that. So that is a very reasonable, Quinn Theo is right. That's a very reasonable interpretation of that. Donating bits, knowing you're getting money back, is essentially converting that, because you're knowing that that's going to be converted to cash. You're going to get a payment. Whenever you donate, you're going to get money back, right? That very well could be violative of that TOS, right? Very well could be violated of that TOS.
That 82% return is going to Pirate. That assumption being that this return of 82% is for Pirate so that he can get it back to him and lower their overhead costs. Now, again, there is nothing directly stating outright you cannot, as like a moderator or an employee for a streamer, donate bits to, get that money back afterwards.
And that's a very good point. And that's for all the Thor defenders and the people that are going to come up and say, you're not being fair. That's very fair. There is nothing specifically that says a moderator can't donate or even an employee can't donate. There's nothing that says that at all. So that part is not a problem. But the issue was not that it was the moderator, but that it was the moderator on a sock puppet account. What is that? It's deceptive, right? That's the real, I think that's the stinger there.
But there's no specific ruling on that, or not at least that I've seen from the research that I've put together, or that any research with people that I have worked with making this video have found themselves. Now, other examples of this Twitch terms of service potentially being broken here has to come from spam, scams, and other malicious conduct. And listed below in, for example, you may not, it includes this part here about engage in viewership tampering, such as artificially inflating follow or live viewers.
And I think that's a huge one. This is a huge one, because if you're extending the hype train artificially, that's a form of viewership tampering that you could look at, like botting, for example, like making it look like you have, 30,000 people in your chat when you only have 10, right? That's a problem, because you're obviously getting promoted to the front page. Advertisers think you're the number one, right? People that might have brand deals with you, people that might be working with you, etc., right, might say, oh, look, this person's number one, and they're be given a false data. It's artificial data. It's not real data. So yeah, that is a potential problem there.
Stats. Now, my expert armchair analysis, I would look at that and go, okay, well, they were seemingly based off of, Kronos directly saying, I added those 50K bits with 20 seconds left. It sounds like he is artificially, with coordination from Pirate Software, keeping the hype train going, which may look like natural engagement, which may incentivize other people to donate to the hype train because they want to build it up. Because
by the way, this is very standard. In fact, watching anime, lessons you learn from anime, watching The Great Pretender, they have a scene in that where in the beginning, this guy is selling some scam tea. It's like some phony tea. And he has somebody in the audience who's a plant, and the plant is bidding at a high price to get everybody in the audience to bid. So when you see other people spending, it's a very common psychological tactic for scammers. They will have somebody in the audience willing to pay a high price who's working with them. So they're like, oh, I'll pay you $10,000 for that. So everybody in the audience thinks, wow, $10,000 is a deal. Wow, I'm going to pay $10,000 too, right? You're being misleading about that. So you might lead somebody to say, hey, we're on hype train level 1 million, right? But only, half of that is legitimate. Well, that is leading people to think it's somewhere where it wasn't, and perhaps to get artificially excited about you breaking a record or being number one, when really you shouldn't be anywhere near number one. Maybe you should be way, way down in the rankings if you weren't having those return systems with your mods, right? It's could be very, very misleading. I'm gonna get some membership call outs here real quick, and then we're gonna continue. Warranty Void with 20 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Also, another 20. Thank you. You guys are the best. 410 DDB. Welcome as a new member. Something to Mine. Welcome as a new member. And Svarthol 768. Welcome as a member. Thank you guys so much for the memberships. Very, very based. Very, very based. Welcome to the memberships. And if you get one, remember, we're going to have a member stream very, very soon. Also, Jim Bob Browning said, so glad I didn't miss a premiere. I still don't know how you respond to chatting them, though. I'm just magical. Let's continue.
Because there is a potential that they unlock this emote or they unlock other rewards in the progression of leveling up this hype train. I think this might also contribute to the cheat the Twitch reward system, in which case I think maybe you could make that argument, but at the same time, the alternate account that he would have been donating these bits on wouldn't really be cheating that Twitch reward system, since he would be receiving the rewards from it. Again, that's more like incentivizing other people that would naturally donate. They would be more likely to donate if you were getting closer to one of those goals. And they got closer to that goal by artificially inflating the train. Pyrocynical is going to have a heyday with this video if he ever reacts to it. Now, the last big TOS thing that I have here is under prohibited conduct here. Specifically here under II, it says impersonate any person or entity, or falsely claim an affiliation with any person or entity. Now, technically, Kronos impersonated someone that was friends with Kronos. I think that's a really lame technicality, but at the end of the day, he did pretend to have a friend, which is kind of funny. But more specifically, in the second part of this II here, it says, misrepresent the source, identity, or content of information transmitted via the Twitch services. I would say by using an alternate account and not disclosing that to the public that was viewing the stream would count as misrepresenting the source and identity of the person donating. But all of these potential breaks in the terms of service could mean absolutely nothing. Now, I spoke with the lawyer that had actually worked with Private Parts back when he received a cease and desist from Pirate Software in regard to his video game, including Pirate Software's voice in it. Now, I spoke with him a little bit about this specific point. He had some really interesting information to provide in regards to the fact that
this lawyer is very based. I actually really enjoy this lawyer. So this lawyer, I agree with everything he's saying here, but I'm going to add some asterisks to it. So everything he said so far regarding the Twitch TOS, I'm pretty much on the same page with him. And let me pull this down and actually let me show you my PP on this. So when you look over here at the TOS, the things that I was also flagging, the things that I pull up, and I bring this up in my Fast Facts version as well. The things that I flag are the exchanging them for currency. I flagged that. Also, engaging in fraudulent activity. So what we said here was that this was potentially fraudulent, right? Because this could defraud people, and we're getting into the federal and the state fraud statute. So under any circumstance, by the way, you're going to have an issue with that under terms of service and also under the law. Now, this lawyer is going to talk about whether or not Pirate Software has a separate contract, because streamers can have separate individual contracts with those streaming platforms. That's very, very possible. However, we don't know whether he does or not. So when this lawyer talks about it, you're going to hear him in a second. We don't know whether this is true or not. However, most of what this lawyer says is absolutely on point, except for there's a little bit of an asterisk, which is the violations of the policy. We will talk about that as we go. But let's get into this conversation with a lawyer who, once again, I think this is a very spot on conversation with a lawyer that knows what he's talking about.
Pirate Software might have a different contract with Twitch that would supersede the terms of service that would typically apply as a blanket for most people that are streaming on Twitch.
There's another layer here too, right? Okay. So there's the terms of service that most of us are going to have available to us. But someone like him, he may have a different terms of service that we don't get to see. He may have a separate individual contract. He got a separate written agreement that says literally on it, Twitch terms of service are superseded by our written agreement thusly. You may only think and Twitch may allow you to think, because that seems more fair. It seems like more fair for gamers if the rules are all the same for everybody. But no, they don't have to tell you that. Nobody has to tell you that. So he has, and I would be kind of surprised actually if he didn't have a separate agreement that said those terms of service do not apply except to this extent, or superseded except to this.
Yeah, see, that's the important. See, the lawyer says it right there, and that's the important asterisk. He said superseded except for this, because there's certain things that you cannot supersede. And one of those things is breaking the law. So even if you have a contract can't get you out of breaking the law. We talked about this when we covered Niji Sanji, right? You can't get out of the law, right? You can't say, hey, this contract says murder is okay, kids. No, that's not a thing. You can't get out of that. So you can't have a contract that says you can defraud people, you can deceive people, you can mislead people. That's not possible. And based on the policy, there's a certain part of the policy that specifically says that this portion applies even if you have a separate agreement or a supplement. So even if you had a separate agreement, this part of the policy applies, and that's the bit acceptable use policy. So I do believe that that section would be incorporated into even a separate contract. Now, he's pretty sure that Pirate has a contract. I'm not positive whether they do or don't. However, I would not be surprised if Pirate and people like Hassan have separate contracts. I wouldn't be surprised if Hassan has a contract that says Dan Clancy is going to, come in and wipe his butt every 10 minutes. I mean, it literally wouldn't be surprised about that one. But once again, it's rules for thee and not for me. And I think a lot of people are surprised about that. I think a lot of people are shocked about that. But this is the reality, is that if you are at the top of a platform, you're going to get bespoke service. You're going to get something that the plebs don't get. The terms of service are for the plebs. They're not for the elites, right? They're not for the number one. They're not for the you underlings, right? You serfs, right? You get the serf terms of service. They get the plus ultra version, right? Also, let me give some thank you here because I got some big gifters. Janes, welcome for the gift. Edward Bental says, gotta love Andrew and his big PP energy. Thank you. My PPs are always substantial. Master of Palma dropping 20 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you.
Yes.
More people commenting on my PP. Also, PP hype from Nurple. The unoriginal Badger, welcome as a new member. And Ohana HX, thank you for the 10 Legal Mindset memberships. Benny, welcome as a new member. Let's see here. Ayla says for 200 Thai baht, Songroy. I have a friend in Thailand who has questions about filing income tax. It's something you can help with. I can recommend his resource. You can email me and I will connect you with a Thai accountant. Yes, I can do that. Let's see here. Did you know Pirate runs a big unregistered ferret rescue out of his house using his entertainment company funds? He actively doesn't want to file as a 501c3 because too much paperwork problems. Yeah, potentially, yeah. And also, can we help the ferrets? I mean, we hit the goal, so we're going to help the ferrets, guys. We hit the goal. Thank you, guys. We're going to protect those ferrets from any form of foul play. Call me Katie says, Thor getting hit by the mindset. Let's go. You know it. Max says, if he makes him a lot of money, then no punishment. Well, and that's what the lawyer is saying. What the lawyer is essentially saying is this contract might get him out of that. Master Obama says, Pirate Software graduated from just lolcow to possible legal issues. New low, but not surprising. Sentence for one, thank you. Hika gifted 5 Legal Mindset memberships. GLP says UCL claim would fail for lack of standing damages. Okay, that's good because I'm gonna bring that one up. That's very good. And once again, it's potential claims, but there's always defenses and ways you could push back against that. Let's see here. Oh, and also earlier you asked if I took a deposition. Yes, I've actually taken 3 depositions. They were all very, very funny. They're very friendly in the context of the depositions that we were taking. But yeah. SS Gadam Juneman says the TOS, if you stop Dan Clancy from gooning, you will get punished. Thermal Content 100 said, call Arch on the crap GW is doing. He called them worse than Disney. GW is on the warpath. I'm curious why people don't investigate their CEO. I don't know. I'd have to look more into that. Also, Dan Clancy's too busy gooning. That might be a fact. Let's continue with this.
I mean, if I were him, I would want to have a separate agreement, and his agreement it's possible. Who knows? Sure. We don't know what his contract is. We could talk theoretically about what Twitch's terms of service, how it would apply if it applies to him, but we honestly don't know. And that kind of thing is not that uncommon in the real business world. Like in when it comes to real business and you're dealing with real large amounts of money, people have individual there's contracts of adhesion, we call them, are the ones that ordinary users can't change. Right. Ordinary users have no opportunity to change. But when you get into like where real money is changing hands, people don't do contracts of adhesion. They're custom.
So what he's saying is what he's saying is right now is that like when you go to let's say the local paintball place and you go to play paintball, they make you sign a waiver, whatever else. It's what he's referring to as a contract of adhesion. It's just some contract, it's boilerplate, it's standard. All the plebs are going to sign this because they need you to sign something. However, when you're at a certain level, you're signing a custom, a bespoke, a unique contract that has been looked at by a lawyer, that's been reviewed by your lawyer and their lawyer. You've negotiated, you've taken things in and out. For example, whenever I represented Universal and I did a lot of work across the table with Disney. Disney would never sign an agreement unless they completely tore it apart and rewrote it themselves. So you would hand Disney an agreement that everybody else would agree to. And they would say, you know what? We're not going to sign that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to give you these assurances. We're going to give you nothing. In fact, we're not even going to promise you what we're giving you is real. We're just going to, sign this piece of paper and we're going to say we're going to give you this. And we may or may not give it to you ever. Good luck with that. Right. That was the style that Disney played with when you're dealing with them in terms of business. So that's how things go on that level. And he's absolutely right about that. He's 100% right about that.
That's why you have lawyers. You negotiate these things. They are negotiated. He may have had it so that like this doesn't even apply at all. And it's not like he's expressly allowed to, but it's just like the prohibitions that would normally prohibit this do not apply. And maybe Twitch doesn't even give a fuck.
Sure.
That last point is probably the most pertinent point. Perhaps Twitch doesn't give an F. And that's where I think I buy in the most. I buy in the most with Twitch doesn't give an F. I think that's very, very, very possible. That's to me the highest likelihood that Twitch doesn't care. Scientific pamphlets, at the end of the day, this TOS analysis might be pointless, but not meaningless. Pirate software is just a hypocrite. Well, beyond that, what it does is it really hurts, and I'll talk about at the end the other factors, the non-legal factors. It hurts the Twitch environment and image. It hurts their perception. It hurts their perception as a platform that's fair and just. I mean, that's gone down the drain. Over the past 2 years, we've seen Twitch time and time again with unequal enforcement, with ridiculous bans, with things that don't even make sense, or failure to take action, or just looking a blind eye to one creator while punishing another creator severely, right? That happens time and time and time again. But like I said, I'm going to pull up this last one regarding the TOS, and this is the real point here, is that this part, this section here, which says any violation or attempted violation of this policy will constitute a violation of term of service, including this policy, by you and a material breach of any other applicable agreement and or supplements to any applicable agreement. So this actually says that any violation applies even if there's a separate agreement. So yes, you could try to get rid of this, but I would put money on the fact that Twitch tried to keep this clause in. If they said it applies to any other agreement or supplement, that would mean it would typically apply to any separate agreement, even if they have a separate agreement with Twitch. So I think that's there. And obviously, if there's anything criminal, that's something that they're going to reserve the right to bring legal action against you and take damages against you if there's something that's criminal, right? Mike DQB says, I've been enjoying the schadenfreude that is Jason's downfall. It all started with him attacking Stop Killing Games and doubling down on that. Yeah. Easy Valentine 4295. Thank you. Welcome as a new member. Okay, so let me get into the other kind of arguments of Quintheo. So what he gets into is the federal law, the Federal Deceptive Trade Practices Act, which requires 3 elements: a representation or omission that is likely to mislead a customer, the customer's interpretation being reasonable, and a misleading representation, omission, or practice that is material. So in terms of the representation is, hey, we have people out here that are giving these subs and they're, normal people, they're regular people. And you're leaving out the fact that that person is your mod and that they're getting money back from you. And because of that, you are donating a lot. So going back to, and I'll fast forward here to this one, any of the whales that donated a lot of money, someone earlier mentioned damages, right? If you spent yourself $100, $200, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. Think about this guy. Maybe, he's been doing this for months. Maybe this goes back. 6 months, 7 months. You've been donating thousands of dollars to this guy and you've been completely misled. you might have a claim against this guy. That's possible. Once again, possible. Doesn't mean likely, doesn't mean, 100%, but just opening the door. All it takes is opening the door to raise these questions. And once again, you don't want to open a door. You don't even want to open the door a crack. That's too far. In the legal world, you don't want to take those chances. But Pirate Software has definitely, in my mind, under the federal law and under the mind of Quinn Theo, he opened the door. Now, one thing that Quinn Theo does not mention, and one thing that he says he's going to have to look more into, is the state laws. Now, each state has its own version of the Deceptive Practices Act, often the UDPPA, and some states have criminal penalties. For example, California, where Twitch is located, has other laws regarding the deceptive practices. They've got the the Consumer Legal Remedies Act, which wouldn't apply in this case, but they've got the false or misleading statements. Possible, maybe, who knows? And then unfair competition law, UCL. Now, I know somebody in the chat said it wouldn't apply because of damages or whatever else, but all I'm going to say here is that the states can often be harder than the feds. And because the states are harder than the feds, it's possible that a plaintiff in a state that is particularly hard and particularly litigious and that wants to sue could find a state that has very receptive law and could sue under that state's Deceptive Practices Act and prevail. When I represented a corporation that did hotels, there were certain states which we had to be very careful in, because in those states, if we said one word wrong, we would be sued and we would lose, because that state had a really harsh interpretation. So what I'm saying is they might be able to forum shop to find a place they could sue and hit them in state. So not just federal, but state, going even further. Of course, once again, speculative. It requires a person who'd given money, who's lost damages. And also, once again, I think even other creators might be able to say, hey, look, we're not getting a fair shake here if they can show they've got some sort of actual damages. But that's going into the other issues. So the other issues, I think, and this is a big one, is advertisers. So advertisers are going to look at this situation and be able to say, hey, look, we paid for the guy who's number one on the hype train. We paid for the guy who's leading the charts, who's on the front page, etc. If he really should have been on the back page, if he really should not have been this guy, that's not what we signed up for. That's not what we paid. We were misled. And even if they don't sue, they could be angry. They could pull their ads. They could say, hey, listen, Twitch, you have a system that's being gamed. So how do we know if you're willing to do this, you're not cheating in other areas? So if you're allowing cheating like this, you could be allowing other types of cheating. Who knows? It's a floodgates argument. And that opens the fraud floodgates. If you allow Pirate to get away with it, everyone's going to do it. It's going to just be a practice. And then Twitch is just going to be a platform where it's all artificially inflated numbers. Everyone's pumping their own numbers up to look like they're amazing. And you can't really trust those numbers at all. You can't trust hype trains at all, or whatever other numbers they can game. And beyond that, it makes Twitch look impotent. It makes Twitch look very, very impotent, because it looks like they are unable to enforce their own image, unable to enforce their own TOS. And when you're unable to enforce your own image, your own TOS, that's a huge problem, guys. That's a massive problem, because you're going to have people that just feel like they can violate it. And that was the problem with Hassan. When they did not take action, when Hassan was flashy with Mr. Pew Pew, now it opens the door for other people to go out and do that. So if they want to let Thor get away, then they're opening the door for that. And by the way, people in the chat, 89% said Twitch will do nothing. And you know what? I'm inclined to believe with you. Twitch seems to be, Dan Clancy seems to be sitting on his hands and too busy, asking for, e-begging for donations in streams than actually enforcing their own rules on his platform. Let's see here. JP Ravenfire for 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Sean, the producer, says, oh, Andrew, your PP is a mess. The word is spelled separate, not separate. That's it. Unsubscribing. Bye. Good to see you later. That's the scuff you guys all come to love. GLP says, all good. I know you actually practice CF Fricata. Yes, that is very, very true. And I continue to do in the realm of immigration law, specifically. That's what I kind of keep contained to now. And a little bit of corporate stuff when people ask me to do some documents, usually related to real estate. Freak Offer for 5 Canadian says, hey, seeing your videos pop up, pumping out those amazing videos. Curious, Are you going to cover the Mercante versus Smash JT defamation? Only when something real happens. I'm not going to do what Smash JT says, and no offense, I like Smash JT, he's my friend, but when someone's your friend, you can rib him. And my ribbing in Smash JT is he whines about it too much. He needs to wait till the updates are very material and then give a material lawsuit update, not just talk about it every other day, right? So when it's a material update, it actually matters, then I'll cover it. Sure. Invader Top says, man, I didn't think things could get worse for Thor after his sorry attempt to stop SKG, but holy crap, 17 months, time flies by. I know. Well, thanks for hanging out for 17 months. But yeah, things are getting worse for Thor. And I don't think it's going to get better. Mike DQB says, it was mentioned it started with his WoW behavior. Are you familiar? It was great drama and quite funny, but he really didn't hurt his sub count. I think it was more drama with the WoW stuff. Look, when you're playing a game, and particularly games like that, you can screw up. I saw that he had items that could have restored his mana. He said he had no mana. That was not true, etc. Right? He could have saved that situation. He didn't have to full run, get out of there and abandon his homeboys and let them die. Yeah. But look, he should have just said, look, I misplayed, or I panicked, or I got scared of losing my character. Sorry, bro. That was kind of selfish of me. And just be honest about it. Just be like, yo, I was being selfish and sorry. And I think it would have completely blown over. But I think the development of a lol cow is like the inability to say you screwed up. Oh, Quinty, I'm beginning to remember what? Oh, we have a Quinty in the chat. Thank you so much. Hey, by the way, in case you don't know, we're not pulling an Ethan Klein today, guys. We're not going to get sued by Ethan Klein, right? I don't want Quinty. Do not Ethan Klein me, okay? I'm not Denims. I'm not as pretty, okay? Please go over here and please go to his video. Jump over to his video, subscribe like I did, like the video, ignore the downs. They're stupid. They're probably haters. Go over here, comment over here, like the video. This is like Thor and his bots, right? Just downvoting it. Just go ahead, like the video, subscribe. I'm putting it in the description below, so you guys can check the description of the video for his video. Pirate Software just got caught. I think he did a fantastic presentation, and it's best consumed in the original format. So thank you for that. JLP says he won't take action. He could sue for breach of contract, implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. No states will take action. But what I've seen more and what I think more is the regulatory bodies. If people can push, and I talked about with a good lawyer friend of mine about this, Ron Coleman, the other day. We got a long conversation about this. I think the state regulatory bodies for unfair and deceptive practices, I've dealt with them. Some of them are, if you get the right state, they are willing to be really aggressive if you show that consumers are being taken advantage of. So if you are able to paint a picture that these consumers are being taken advantage of, especially because, and this is a real risk for Twitch, some of these people are children, are straight up children, right? So if you're saying, hey, look, there are like very young people being taken advantage of here, teenagers being taken advantage of, right? What is it? The demographic is what, like something like 13 to 34, or sorry, 16 to 34. It's a very young demographic on Twitch, right? These people are being taken advantage of, and you make that case convincingly, I think a regulatory body could be convinced. You'd have to put some work, but I could see that. It is real. Lewis Kelly said, do you think some of the viewer drop is them doing damage control after being potentially exposed? Yes. I don't think you go down, guys. You don't go down 104 in 30 days unless there's some major problems. Because typically, if you're creating content, you're going to have a little bit of an uptrend. So people unsubscribing, people who may not know you very well or whatever, unsubscribing, is going to be balanced out by your uptrend. But the fact that he can't break that, even though he's streaming more games. He's streaming more games. He's doing something more, and he's getting like way less. His average viewers are down, his peak viewers are down, his hours streamed are down, his followers are down, his hours watched are down. So all the stats are down. Crazy. Wise Man said, in your entire career as an attorney, what was the most absurd person you ever had to cover on your YouTube channel? Much love from Romania. Ooh, that is really funny. Absurd. Foodie Beauty is up there. Johnny Somali's pretty crazy. I don't know. Johnny Somali's a pretty crazy case if you look at the whole of that case. But I've covered a lot of weird ones. I've covered a lot of weird ones on this channel. Minnesota attorneys, Minnesota non-practicing attorneys, or lawyers, rather. A lot of weirdos. I hate to see Dan Clancy's downloaded hot tub streams. Coffee Don says, oh no, it's Alex. It's the original Banana Man copyright. No, I didn't know that. Liz Kimber says, I think he would have gotten away with it if he had said my bad, but he kept making out it was everyone else, so they started digging. Oh, cool. Yeah, I think that apology for the WoW stuff and also for stop killing games. I think coming out against what is common sense regulation. And once again, I say that regarding stop killing games as a person myself who does not like regulation, but sometimes you need to try. And that's a case in which I think it's worth the shot. It's worth trying to go with the stop killing games regulation, or at least making an attempt. It gets visibility, right? And you also see that already Ubisoft made changes for the Crew 2. They've already made changes as a result of the public sentiment. So the public sentiment at large does matter. And I think that's something that Pirate was kind of tone deaf on. Braxis via welcome as a member. Lupin says, first live chat I'm able to catch. Love your coverage with the drama around Ethan and Hassan Orbiters. Peak entertainment. Love from Deutschland. Viele Grüße to Deutschland. Love you all. Appreciate that. I'm going to probably be in Berlin at some point next year, maybe. Patrick said, Dan did say during a recent QA, Twitch varies on how they look at TOS for each channel. So if you're on their bad side, like Tectone or H3, they pretty much don't do anything. Boom. Well, there you go. There you go. If they admit it. And once again, they're under no obligation to be completely fair and equal. However, there is a point at which there could be some damages. For example, someone loses a sponsorship or loses a big brand deal or has some sort of giant reputational damage. I don't think we've gotten there yet, but the situation is building. The case is building. JP Ravenfire said, by the way, chat, I've got no return on my subs yet. Yes, JP Ravenfire has not been paid once for all the subs he has donated. So JP's in the chat for my uncompensated mod, JP, who is much appreciated and very based. Crosswell said, hey, I got them converted to permanent for my contract. Cool. Nurple said, don't let Pirate Software buying the upkeep on his hype train distract you from the fact that Pecora bought a monkey. VTuber fans, I love you guys. Mesrel Palma said, the silliest thing is that nothing PS did is all that bad by itself, just the fact that every time he messes up slightly, pointing fingers everywhere around. And the thing is, he's probably going to go out and say, I can predict what Pirate Software is going to say. I didn't do anything wrong, which is debatable. Maybe in the eyes of Twitch, he may not. But I think at the very least, what all of this says is it opens the door to being called a fraud. And you have opened that door to say, if someone said, hey, I view you as defrauding the viewers, as deceiving the viewers, that's a fair claim. It's going to be hard to fight that. That's not a defamatory statement anymore, because someone can say, hey, Pirate Software defrauded his viewers based on the hype train scheme, right? And it's going to be real hard to prove that's defamatory for someone to come out and say that now because of this. So at the very least, it's opened the door to criticism that is now legitimized by that. I suggest checking out the unregistered rescue. Cool. Quinty said, do you have a Discord? It'd be really cool to put together a follow-up video to talk about legality. Watched you for a while. Cool to see you reacting. Awesome. Yeah, hit me up on Discord. You can email me. Email me, Andrew Esquire live at gmail.com. I'll give you my Discord. So I'll give you my. We'll link up, and we can link up and talk. Happy to collaborate on this. And once again, fantastic work. Go check out this dude's channel. He did a fantastic job, and I think he could be a lawyer because he did a lawyerly job. Ohana HX says, did Kickstarters have a time frame to honor? If the game was funded by people on a Kickstarter in 2017, he's not finishing. Those people donated. I know that's one of his controversies with Heartbound, but I'm not sure about that. I don't know Kickstarter's TOS, and also I don't know what the general expectation would be. There are games that are sitting out there for 6 years and 10 years and they're unfinished. So that's one. Me scusi. I don't know the answer off the top of my head. It's possible, but I also think people understand that game developers can get really lazy or be bogged down and things can take forever. Me A2B says, OOT, any way to fight payment processor censorship? Oh, that's a big one. I think it's got to be the payment processor censorship. It's got to be at a really high level. It's got to be the public really speaking up and saying they don't want this. It's got to be very, very, very vocal. Also, alternate payment processors. Mike DQB says, I think Jason's problem is that he genuinely believes he's right and everyone else is wrong. That's a problem. That's not just a one-person problem. That's a lot of person problem. If your ego is too big and you think you're infallible, that's a problem. And I always try to remain open to reasonable other interpretations and other people's opinions. And I think that's part of keeping that kind of in check. No one of us knows everything in the world, right? That's very much true. However, we can all learn from each other. And I think people that view that they can learn something from each other are people that I tend to listen to more, right? Because they are open and receptive to learning and growing and becoming more of an expert, not just staying where they are and thinking they already know everything in the world. Legally speaking, is Ubisoft in the wrong to remove the products from customers' libraries, even if they're told it was a purchase, not a digital license? I am against that. However, if it is a license, they can do that. That's a license. That's the problem with a license. The problem with a license is it's revocable at will. Master of Obama gifted 20 illegal mindset memberships. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And then Scientific Fanfiction said, stop killing games with its preservation stance is toxic, and Pirate Software was right to call it the movement. People can be regulated just as much as industry. Gamers need to educate themselves. Why not both, though? Scientific Fanfiction. Why not both? Why can't gamers educate themselves and it be regulated? I think that's a false binary where you think it has to be one or the other, right? Why can't it be both? There could be reasonable regulation and there could be gamers getting educated. Why can't both things happen? Can we walk and chew bubblegum at the same time? I think we can. For 50 Norwegian krona, but isn't it like working in a store but not allowed to shop there? No, well, here's the thing. It's not saying his mod can't do it. It's saying his mod can't do it while he's pretending to be a friend, ladies and gentlemen. He's pretending to be an IRL friend. That's not okay. That's not okay. That's deceptive. Come on. J620 says, can a contract appear legal on its face, but actually encourage illegal activity, therefore making it something like Twitch? No. A contract can never legitimize illegal behavior. Let me say that one time very clearly. You cannot contract for illegal behavior. For example, you cannot contract for murder. If you have a contract to murder somebody, that is not a legal contract. If you have a contract to deliver illegal narcotics, that is not a legal contract. You cannot do that. I don't know how to explain it otherwise, right? If you have a contract to sell people as slaves, that is not legal, right? In the United States, right? Like, these things are very clear. The law is very firm on that. That's an obvious thing. I don't like, it is obvious to me. It's okay to ask the question, but no, you can't do illegal stuff. Also, do you have any news on Rekieta Law, how he's doing? I think he's still harped up on his lover, his ex-lover, which is going to happen forever. But anyways, guys, don't be like Pirate Software or like Rekieta Law. Don't be coping and seething, and I'll catch you on the next one.
You are coping and seething. You just can't believe what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth it is all day, and now you are molding.